Push the red button. Great. Nothing can start happening now then. So this is it. This is nothing happening. This is nothing, and there is apparently something happening. There's just emptiness. But out of emptiness arises the appearance of fullness, and this is the appearance of fullness. This hand moving, this voice sounding, that foot moving, that coffee cup being held, being raised at the back there. That's nothing manifesting as everything. This is everything. If we sort of hear that philosophically, we might go, oh yeah, da-di-da-di-da-di-da, and write a few treatises about it, but if we really get it, it's astonishing. This is everything. This is nothing happening, and this is everything. This is the entirety of existence. This, and it's gone, and now this, and it's gone, and now this. Except it can't have gone because there's no time. And we just proved yet again the universal law: if you want to get the latecomers to arrive, start the talk. They will not arrive until the talk has started. So, although there is no time, you now have about 30 seconds to plan how you're going to embarrass them maximally.
It might be worth opening the door a bit so you can see.
Hiya. Hiya. Are we still lined up with the best possible shot? Yeah. Don't worry, it'll go through a professional editing suite before it goes out on Technicolor. That's a bit old, isn't it? God, that shows my age. Yeah. These ramblings may or may not get cut out if this ever sees the light of day. And that may depend on the quality of your questions, so come on your marks.
In your very good book, I Hope You Die Soon, you made
Thank you for the plug.
And you made a statement, and then in the following sentence you said, this can be interpreted in two ways, it's worth reading again.
Yeah, I said try reading that last sentence.
Try reading that last sentence.
In both ways.
In both ways. And I read it in both, and I couldn't see it. I can't remember the statements.
Well, that's not going to help then, is it?
I can remember what you said about it, but I'm hoping that you can elucidate that statement.
I can't, because I can't remember the sentence either. No, it's about nothing and being everything and no. It's worth going away and looking it up, obviously, in that case.
Yeah. I did try enough. I'll ask you about it when I see you, but you can't remember what it was.
No, I can remember roughly what it was, but not clearly enough to, but it made sense. Bring it with next time you come and we'll tease the meaning out of it. It did make sense, yeah.
So roughly...
The way what I laughingly call my mind works, it may suddenly kind of occur to me at random during this afternoon, at which point I'll probably just blurt it out as if I had Tourette's. So, yeah. So where were we? Nowhere, because there's nowhere to be. Where? There's nowhere to be. No space. No time. I mean, these are kind of astonishing and ludicrous statements in a way. They only become not ludicrous because they're not really statements. They're certainly not philosophical statements. They're just an attempt to try to describe what's seen when the sense of self, the sense of separation, drops away. and it can be astonishing, and part of that astonishment can be this realization there actually is no time, there is just this. I mean, if we're interested in this, we may have been to talks about it, we may have heard speakers say this over and over and over again. There is no time, it makes no real sense. Obviously there is time. I'm wearing a watch. Why am I wearing a watch? How ridiculous would it be to do that if there was no time? And yet here are these speakers saying, you know, there is no time. And yet you know perfectly well that if you looked in their pockets, you'd find a return railway ticket. You'd find a railway ticket from somewhere they'd left earlier that morning in time. And yet they're saying there is no time. And then suddenly, and it can be just an instantaneous flash, it can be here, it's gone, it's not even a second. And it can just be seen. Oh my goodness. You know, there is just this. And this doesn't have duration, it's just this. You could say it's this and it's gone, and it's this and it's gone, it's this and it's gone, but that kind of implies time. It's just this, no duration. This, as I sometimes describe it, is the thin sliver of light between darkness and darkness, or between non-existence and non-existence. This is the thin sliver of light. It's just a metaphor. It doesn't really work terribly well, but I quite like it because it's a little bit poetic, but it kind of, you know, it's an utter mystery. This is a rising out of nothing. It's falling back into nothing, and the natural way to proceed with that is maybe to say something like every moment, except there aren't moments, because moments are time. And that's the reality that we're talking about. I could say, if you like, that's the underlying reality, that's the fundamental reality. That's the reality that we're talking about. And when we talk about awakening, which is not that great a word, or liberation, which is an even less great word, whatever the hell it is we're talking about, sometimes we talk about seeing, realization, whatever it might be, that's part of what we're talking about. That's the reality, if you like. What we really are is timeless beings. You said we're not really beings either, because to say we're beings implies separation. But the character, which is what I want to suggest in a way, is what is sitting there and what is sitting here. You know, the character, the divine puppet, as it's sometimes called, the character lives in time, because the character has memory, and the character has expectation. The character has memory of the past, often with emotional attachments to it, like remorse and nostalgia, and happy memories as well. And the character lives in expectation of the future, and the future also has emotions, has feelings attached to it, like fear and anxiety and hope and longing and expectation. And there's no doubt that time does exist, but it exists for the character, and the character isn't real. The character is, if you like, an illusion, a divine illusion, an appearance. And the underlying reality, which is a hugely misleading term, I'm using it anyway because I'm feeling careless today, the underlying reality, it's hidden, isn't it? It's so hidden, it's so mysterious, it's so kind of Gnostic. No, it isn't. In a way, it is, in a way, absolutely obvious. There is just this, and this, and this, and this. There is always, only, ever just this, in which thoughts and feelings about past and future, this wonderful illusion, this wonderful story arise. So there's nothing, and there's no one, and then this play arises, a bit like a film on a cinema screen, or a bit like a play on a stage. We're characters, if you like. We're characters. Some of us may see ourselves as characters in comedies, and some of us may see ourselves as characters in tragedies, and some of us, most of us, it's a bit of both. If you're lucky, it's a bit of both. So that's where we're starting from. That's the sort of the, if you like, the underlying reality, but also the only reality. Because that which is overlaid on top of that, which is this great, wonderful, colourful play of movement and light and ideas and so forth, is in a very real sense unreal. In a very real sense, this is unreal. And again, just as an analogy, and one that you would have met many, many times before with me and with many other speakers, is a bit like a dream at night. This can be likened to a dream at night. And when the dream at night, when the nighttime dream's going on, it's incredibly real. Unless you're having a lucid dream, in which case it might not be. It might be seen to be, but forget lucid dreams. The dream as it's going, the normal dream as it's going on night will seem incredibly real until we wake up. And when we wake up, it's immediately known it's a dream. So that's what this is like. This is taken absolutely for real, just like a nighttime dream when we're in it. Absolutely it's taken for real until there's a waking up in the sense we're talking about it here. Not waking up from the nighttime dream, but a waking up to what this really is, and then suddenly it's known, suddenly it's seen. Ah, that was just a dream. But the difference is that unless that waking up coincides with physical death, this dream goes on. It doesn't stop like the nighttime dream when we woke up. Was that a question coming up or not?
No, I was just going to say, in the dream, like there's the appearance, or seems to be the appearance of time, just like...
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, which is... And yet, you know, we know that time is illusory. But it only becomes obvious once we've woken up in the morning. So what we're talking about here is a kind of metaphorical waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
But when we wake up, in the morning from a nighttime dream, we could say, you know, the characters in the nighttime dream end. They die. They end.
Yeah.
Whereas here, the characters go on until physical death.
Yeah. No, it is strange, isn't it? Like with the dreams, like recent dreams I can think of, like nothing major, but something's going wrong, and I have this thing. I think, oh, I've just got to just take it on the chin, you know, something's gone wrong. But then suddenly I've woken up, and that's it, and the understanding. Yeah, it's a dream.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so just as with this daytime dream, nighttime dreams can involve incredibly deep emotions, huge feelings, ranging from ecstasy to terror and many other things, and then bang, it's gone. It's an illusion. In the same way, this is a kind of illusion. It's a tricky word because for a lot of people, when they hear the word illusion, they think, well, it's a denial of reality. It's like saying it doesn't exist. Well, that's not what I'm saying. This clearly does exist. In a way, it exists as an illusion, which actually means simply something which is different to how it appears to be. And yes, this exists, but it exists as in a way which is different to how it appears to be. If we want to describe that, you know, it's kind of impossible, but as a sort of image, it's as good as anything to say that this is a great deal more evanescent than it seems. It's a great deal less solid than it seems. This is real, but it seems to be really real. It's not actually really real. It's evanescent, but still it has that reality. There is something apparently happening, so there's that reality.
A couple of weeks ago I was at the railway station and I had a briefest glimpse of what's happening. And then, that was it really, just what's happening. And then on the train, the stale old thoughts came in, and it was so fresh. It was staleness compared to freshness.
Yeah.
And I got the impression that I was just wrapping myself with a familiar blanket of I like this, I don't like this, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's a familiar blanket. We sort of blanket ourselves away from freshness, really. There's a sense,
Yeah.
You know, it's like a familiar blanket, really, yeah.
Yeah. That's a really, really nice description. Except, of course, we don't do it. You said we blanket ourselves away. It's just something that happens.
A very stale blanket.
A very stale, smelly blanket
Stale,
that the dog slept on for
same
too
old
long.
thoughts, the
Yeah.
same old thoughts, very predictable same old thoughts,
Yeah, but we don't do it because there is no we. It's just a kind of it has its own energy. You could say it's like simply a pattern that's running until it stops running. Could say that. That's not great. That's not a great way of putting it, but it'll do. We're not doing it. So I'm not. There isn't this whatever it is. Maybe the apprehension of this silence, stillness being movement and sound, and then those thoughts come back in, and I've done that. It's not that. It's just a kind of an energy running, a pattern running until it doesn't. Yeah. And the difference between those two descriptions is that the description that I'm doing it kind of then leads on quite likely to, I better stop doing it. I can find a way to stop doing that. It's wrong to do that, maybe even that. So it can be turned into something, with which the apparent me can beat myself up.
It's a curse, isn't it?
What's the curse?
Me being me.
Yeah, in a way, you could say that. Yeah. It's also a joy. It's both. It's a roller coaster ride. Yeah. But yeah, it is. And it just seems so obvious that I'm a me, and that I will experience this curse and this joy. And with that, as I used to say, I used to sort of start to talk to sort of, the burdensome responsibilities of being this self, all the things the self had to carry around with it, like hopes and fears and expectations, and will I manage to become a doctor and please my parents, or will I be a bus driver like I really want to be, and all of that stuff. I mean, a huge amount of stuff goes with that sense of self. The Buddhists talk about chains, golden chains and iron chains. All this stuff that the self drags around with it, all the ideas and all the hopes and the fears and the regrets about the past. They're all chains. Some of them are made of iron and some of them are made of gold, but they're still all damned heavy. Yeah. And then it can just be seen, that is not who I am. I mean, if you like, we could sum up everything that's said at these meetings just with that statement. All of that, everything that I think myself to be, autobiographically, everything I think myself to be autobiographically, everything I believe and deeply feel myself to be autobiographically, and in the story of time have done for 30, 40, 50, 60, perhaps 70, perhaps 80 years. That's all just a story, and it can fall away. And then it can be revealed that what I really am is what everything really is, which is oneness, doing its dance. Oneness being everything and nothing. Oneness being everything, including Tony and Philip and Richard and James, and bottles of water, doing its dance. Yeah.
Is there something about disassociating from your thoughts, seeing your thoughts as there's some people describe it as just clouds, just coming in, and just see them for what they are, and let the clouds go. Is you know, some of the stuff I read, and then who is it that's looking at the clouds going across? You know, people talk about awareness, being aware of aware, and what have you. Is that all that's a process?
That's a process. I was going to say that's beginning to sound like, well, it's gone far beyond beginning to sound like a process now, a technique, and maybe a bit like, you know, a bit of self-inquiry, da-da-da-da-da. No, it's got nothing to do with that. And it does, because everything is included in this. So this isn't about, you know, oh, I mean, that's a technique, if you like. It's an exercise. You know, I will detach myself from myself, perhaps, and see my thoughts as clouds, but I'm still doing that. So it's got nothing more. It's got nothing more to do with what we're talking about here, but also nothing less to do with what we're talking about here than drinking a cup of tea. Except that I would say that maybe doing an exercise like that is probably more confusing than drinking a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So it might sort of fuck the mind over in a way that drinking a cup of tea wouldn't. My recommendation, I don't make recommendations. I always say this, I don't make recommendations, I make a recommendation. It's very slippery, this stuff. So forgive me for that. Okay, I'll be even more slippery. My non-recommendation, it's not really a recommendation, would be if you ever feel like self-inquiring, just sit down, have a nice cup of tea until the feeling has passed. But, you know, if doing a process like that is your bag, I'm not going to say if doing a process like that is your bag, then do it, because it's not you doing it. If doing a process like that is your bag, then it may happen. It's not that you may do it, it's that it may happen. And then you can have a cup of tea after you've done it. And hopefully no harm will have been done. But this has got nothing to do with me seeing whatever, my experiences, my thoughts passing by like clouds.
So all these gurus, you know, where it's Zen, you know, the Indian philosophy and what have you, that's
what?
That's their, it's just their thing.
Yes, it's their thing. It's part of the beautiful flowering of oneness. It's it can be great fun. Yeah. I used to follow a guru. It's wonderful, colourful, exciting, and meaningful. I mean, that's the really important thing. I mean, the hook for the apparent person with a lot of stuff like, we're going to talk about gurus and paths and so forth, and seeing my thoughts like clouds. It's a wonderful hook. The hook for the person is, you know, this is a path, and it will get me somewhere on the path.
So
it's awful to realise there is no path, because if there's no path, where am I going to go? Actually, it's kind of really misleading to say there is no path. You know, there are hundreds, thousands, millions of paths, but they're just paths. They have no significance. Again, we're back to having a cup of tea or stroking the cat. Being on a spiritual path, drinking a cup of tea, stroking the cat and worshipping the guru. It's all oneness doing its thing. I was going to say it's all the same, but in what way is it the same? Because it clearly isn't. You know, it's bloody obvious that stroking the cat and following the guru and drinking a cup of tea are three completely different things. What are you talking about? No, it's all the same when it's seen as being without meaning. Not hopelessly, not nihilistically, but, oh, how wonderful. None of this has any meaning. I don't have to take it seriously anymore. Now, relaxation may take place.
So there's something about...
And relaxation is, I've quoted this so many times, you know, it's wonderful. I can say it's wonderful because it's not me, I'm quoting somebody else. Relaxation is the key to Buddhahood here and now.
So I'm stuffed. So you have to be relaxed. So if you're not relaxed, you're
No!
stuffed.
Oh God, no, Tony, the mind. You see how
Yes.
tricky the mind is? So the mind takes that, this wonderful saying, and it instantly turns it into a cudgel with which I can beat myself
I
up.
must relax more.
I must relax more. Hit, hit, hit. No, absolutely not. No. No, relaxation may take place. If it does, it's a great blessing. It may not take place. It may take place. If it takes place, it's not you doing it. Not because you're a passive observer of your life, but because you don't exist. Fundamentally. Yeah. I'm not sure if we've now just finished the introductory course or talk or gone beyond it. Introductory course, that would be good, wouldn't it? 20-week introductory course to non-duality. I'm going to work on that when I get home tonight.
Yeah, even harder without a path, isn't it, really?
Yes. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's the end of the introductory talk,
Yeah.
but let's declare that it is. So, and we'll see what happens.
I must admit, I've been doing the same meditation that he was talking about, the Buddhist one, where you sort of, the thought comes in, just look at it and let it go, whatever happens. And the other day, a few weeks ago, I woke up and thought, I don't know, well, it's pretty pointless really.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah,
I felt quite glad about that.
yeah, right. Let it go, yeah, yeah. I think there are some great meditations out there, you know. And for some people that might be one, in which case, well, fine. But let's try to not torture ourselves with these things simply under the belief that it's good for us. Yeah.
So there's something about just accepting everything. Just, you know, you go for a pint, you just enjoy a pint, and go and have a meal, enjoy the meal. It's,
You try accepting everything and see how long that lasts. It's not about
no,
It's not about accepting everything. It's not. I mean, it's possible that if this is seen, it's possible that more acceptance will arise. And that will have nothing to do with me, and it will have nothing to do with you. So no,
yeah.
it's not about accepting everything. More acceptance might arise. Less acceptance might arise. That's equally possible. I feel a bit reluctant to say this because, firstly, number one, I haven't thought it out. Dangerous to start a sentence when you don't know where it's going to end. And secondly, because I think it might imply something I don't really want to imply. But let's try it anyway. I think quite often, you know, when this is seen, there's the word that's come into my mind, I might even be using this word wrongly, that when this is seen, maybe there's a kind of like homeostasis takes place in the system. Does that word make sense? A sort of evening out? Well, nobody's saying it doesn't make sense, so either you think it makes sense or more likely you don't know what the hell I'm talking about here. I'm not absolutely sure I do. I know what I want to say, but I don't know if I'm actually getting near to saying it. And I'm recognising as well it's a slightly dangerous thing to say, but I think when this is seen, there is a kind of, I'm going to stick with that word because it sounds so nice, there is a kind of evening out or homeostasis.
Balance.
Balance, yes, yeah. Yeah, and I realise I've just said there is. No, I can't say there is. There may be. There may be, because there aren't any rules. But quite often people describe what's happening for them, and that description sounds like there is more balance. Yeah. An evening out of the great troughs and the highs. The troughs of emotion, for example, and the highs of emotion that often belong to the person, to the individual person. I used to describe my life many years ago as going from something like going from ecstasy to despair. But the problem was the ecstasy lasted about 3 days every month, and the despair lasted about 27 days every month. So kind of evening out. Yeah. Oh God, that sounds boring, doesn't it? I don't want my life to be even out. No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I think it's quite a sociotypical thing for people to be afraid of just nothing happening. It's like, damn, something has to be happening, something amazing, we need to plan for something to happen, and all that. You know, a lot of people, I think they are addicted to that roller coaster.
Yeah.
And that if they're doing nothing, it's like, oh God.
But there's so many, we're brought up with so many messages about that, aren't we? Of which the first one is that if I'm doing nothing, I am wasting an incredibly precious commodity that
Time.
maybe God has given me, who knows, which is time. So we have so many messages about wasting time, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what a relief to discover there's no such thing as time, so you can't waste it. Maybe that might be a relief. Yeah.
And who's thinking that?
No one.
Of course.
No one's thinking it. It's a thought arising out of nothing and falling back into nothing.
Yeah.
Timelessly,
Yeah.
outside time, which does not exist. Yeah. No one asked that question. No one asked who's thinking that. No one came here today, and yet there are memories of coming here today. How mad is that?
So you mean that coming here just happened? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
in a way, well, yes, in a way I'm saying that, but I'm also saying it didn't happen. That's just, that memory is just an energy. I should put the word memory in inverted commas. There's memories in inverted commas of coming here today. In other words, there's stories of coming here today, and there's just this.
So sitting here.
But for the character, we might as well say the character came here today. The character's going to go home tonight, and yet there can be a seeing that is, again, I'll use that metaphor, a kind of dream. So time can be experienced. Of course time can be experienced. Obviously time can be experienced, but it's within timelessness. There are some intriguing stories. I won't go into this, partly because I don't know very much about it, and partly because I feel it's kind of leading down a path which could be a bit dodgy in a way. But there's some intriguing stories from people who've had NDEs, near-death experiences, where, you know, in ordinary terms, you could say, you know, the medical emergency which usually accompanies these had lasted, let's say, 5 minutes. And in that, in our terms, 5 minutes, right, the report from the one who's experienced the NDE is they have lived a lifetime, a complete lifetime of 80 years, a whole lifetime from beginning to end. Kind of, I think that's kind of quite a nice indicator again of how time is entirely subjective. There's no objective reality.
Why in this culture are people so scared of death? I mean, people say, oh, you shouldn't have assisted dying, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And they seem to think that death is a very bad thing.
In this culture, you're
Yeah.
picking on this culture,
Yeah.
I mean, lots of cultures.
Well, Japan doesn't. It thinks suicide is an honourable thing.
Oh, you're talking specifically about suicide because you started off with
Well,
death. You said, why in this culture are we so scared of death?
Yes.
But I mean, that's not this culture, that's many, many cultures.
Yeah.
I think it's, fairly obvious why we're scared of death. No?
No.
In many cultures, and
Yeah.
why therefore we have so much effort put into making up these wonderful stories about something
I'm
happening
talking about the
after death.
cruelty of keeping people alive who shouldn't.
Oh, you're talking very specifically about that.
NHS and
Okay,
just
yeah.
keeping people alive and
Yeah.
extending it,
Okay,
extending
so,
it no
yeah.
matter what.
All right, well.
Just cruel.
So that's opinion. People have different opinions. We can't really have a very interesting discussion about it because we have the same opinions. So.
Oh, it's just an opinion thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So on that level, on the level of opinion, politics, blah 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 blah, you and I would agree, and that would be very nice. Da, 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 da. So
Yeah.
Christianity comes into it, doesn't it, really?
I suppose so. Yeah.
yeah.
I was thinking about death of because in a way I was thinking about death of characters. What death of me?
Yeah.
And is it because people are frightened of death of me? Maybe I wonder if that's had that connotation.
Of course, because me is all that me knows. Until me collapses, me is all me has ever known and all me knows. So yeah, of course it can be. The thought of annihilation of me can be terrifying, and so we create all these stories in every culture.
Because Christians say that you go to hell, don't you? If you
Some do.
and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Some do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm reading a very interesting book at the moment called Heresy by a woman. What's her name? Catherine Dixie. She wrote another book about called The Darkening Age, about the Christians slaughtering the pagans. I mean, the early Christians were like the Taliban. I mean, they were absolutely horrible. And Heresy, it's about all the vast number of Gospels that never got into the canon. So many Gospels, and some of them are pretty bizarre. And the one I'm reading about at the moment, which I quite like, I think it's not the Gospel of Thomas there's a famous Gospel of Thomas. It's not that one, it's the Gospel of Thomas something else, I think. And in it recounts how when Jesus was a child, if other children annoyed him, he just killed them, magically. It's wonderful. And then there's the wedding feast at Cana. There's a wedding feast in this Gospel of Thomas, in which a dish of a cooked cockerel is presented to him, and he raises the cockerel from the dead, brings it back to life, and then sends it off to spy on Judas, to overhear what Judas is saying, is planning. The cockerel comes back. I'm going to have to cut this bit out if I ever put this on YouTube, aren't I? The cockerel comes back, reports back to Jesus what Judas is planning, and as a reward, Jesus then sends the cockerel into the sky where it will live for 1,000 years. That's rather lovely, isn't it?
I've heard that the Book of Revelations was written by people high on drugs.
It certainly sounds like it.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this
Oh
talks
yeah,
about-
absolutely.
That's red on drugs.
Yeah, almost certainly. Yeah.
Yeah.
A very, very bad trip as well.
Yeah.
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 There's a Gospel of Mary Magdalene, isn't there? Have you read about that?
Yes.
Was it Mary kissed Jesus on and that bit's missing?
Oh yes, oh definitely, yeah. But there is stuff in one of these Gospels. I mean, I can't bring myself even to narrate it here. I'd be embarrassed to narrate it about the Virgin Mary, about the birth and what happened afterwards. And I heartily recommend, if you want to sort of somewhat kind of disturbing and nightmarish evening reading this book, but I'm not going to recount the gospel. I can't remember which gospel it was that, it's definitely not in the canon anyway, that goes into this very, very, very strange story about what happens to Mary, Mother of God, after giving birth.
It's Heresy. Can you remember the name of the author?
It's called Heresies by Catherine Dixey, Dixey.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's fairly new. Yeah. Yeah, and the other one, which I think is probably a better book, is The Darkening Age. That was her earlier book. Yeah.
Apparently the Vatican is sitting on a load of this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I bet.
presumably,
No one
probably,
released.
probably. Yeah, yeah, but there's a lot of it. You know, a lot of it is out there. You know, being poured over by academics and you know, yeah. Little fragments here, little bits there, bits that survived. Yeah. Well, that's really lowered the tone. Hasn't it? Please, somebody elevate it back to where we ought to be. Ought to. There are no oughts here. That's another thing that helps relax us. The recognition that, you know, that all oughts and shoulds and must collapse. You know, these are just again stories of the mind and pretty unhealthy ones as well. Yeah.
So you've got
There's no guidelines here. There's no guidelines. There's no guidance. Forget the Ten Commandments. Forget the Buddhist precepts. Forget the fetters and working through them. Forget, you know, there's no guidelines at all. Guidelines are for the illusory person.
Shakespeare said, "Much ado about nothing." Isn't that?
Shakespeare's pretty wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, all the world's a stage and all the somethings merely players. Yeah.
Strut and fret across the
Yeah, that's
stage,
right, yeah.
signifying nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make you wonder whether Shakespeare saw this, saw through the illusion.
Tony Carson seems to trumpet that.
What? That,
Yeah,
what, that Shakespeare?
yeah.
Yeah, well, we can't know. But anyway, we're talking about, yeah, a character, but yeah, it's intriguing. Yeah.
It also says we are the stuff that dreams are made
Yes,
of. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah.
Then he goes on to write a lot. He talks about death and battles and drama. He creates drama, doesn't he?
Well,
Yeah.
he's a playwright.
Mm.
Wouldn't be much of a playwright if he didn't create drama.
Mm.
Yeah.
if it was Shakespeare. That's a different story.
But it is interesting because his work, his plays, and I mean, you know, I might get shot down either here or, you know, out there by someone who knows better, but I mean, his plays, it seems to me, are not particularly transcendental, and yet we have those hints and clues and statements.
Mm.
Yeah.
When you use the phrase "the character," should the character just crack on with life, not worry about it, and just all the books, just get rid of them, or read them?
Well, firstly, there's no shoulds here.
No.
So the simple answer to the question is no,
No.
because there's no shoulds.
No.
Secondly, we could follow that up by saying, well, the character will do what the character does. There's no wire. We haven't, I don't know, we've actually touched on this yet today. I mean, it's a huge kind of point. It's sometimes the one I start with, you know. There's no shoulds, and then there's the character doing what the character does, but there's no one choosing to do that. So a simple way of saying that is to say there's no free will, but that's not really what I'm saying. It's not that, it's that there is no self to have free will. So free will, again, it doesn't even get off the ground. There's no possibility of free will, not because of all the usual arguments about determinism, blah, 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 which, by the way, I agree with, but nevertheless is kind of irrelevant here. You don't even need to go there. There's no free will because there's no person. There's no one to own free will. Maybe you could have a kind of freewheeling sort of free will just blowing about by the wind, but I don't know what that would be like. There is no one. So there's no shoulds. There's no person. There's just what apparently happens. in what apparently happens, notions and thoughts and feelings about time arise, and about something called the future arise, and then out of that might arise thoughts about what should I be doing, should I be doing this or that. It's all just thought, just another thought, another thought, another thought. Nothing behind it. It's just the mind generating all of this, except there isn't a mind. So we're stuck again.
So that was interesting. You said it's all thought and nothing behind it. Yeah.
Because normally we would think, well, if there's thought, there's a thinker. If there's thought, there's a mind, there's a thinker. Maybe there's this precious thing called free will. Maybe there isn't. We could have a jolly good argument about that, blah, 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 blah. So no, it is nothing behind it. There's just, well, as I say, it's not really that there's just thought. There is just thinking, because it's a process, it's not a thing. In other words, again, there are no nouns. We could say there are no nouns, there are only verbs. This is a verb. We call it, for convenience, by a noun. We say that's a table. Well, it's not a table. It's oneness, as Tony would put it, it's oneness tabling. It's not a thing, it's a happening. It's not an object, it's an event. This table is an event. It's a fairly boring event, but it's an event. And actually, I mean, I'll just throw this in, it's kind of vaguely interesting. You know, now, even in a literal sense, we know that's true because of our understanding of quantum physics. We know that this is not an object, it is energy moving. And this is not an object, it is energy moving, but the nature of the energy moving here, the nature of the energy moving there, means that this energy doesn't go through that energy because they repulse each other. I really shouldn't talk about quantum physics like this because I'm going to get myself into such trouble so quickly. But that's the kind of basics of it, if you like. You know, so it's kind of interesting that we, you know, this isn't just something that mystics see or whatever. It's something that there is now an understanding of from Western science.
Scientists are quite honest because they talk about the Big Bang, but he says for time to exist there has to be a start, and that's a Big Bang. But he qualifies it by saying for time to exist.
Yeah,
which is
yeah. Nobody knows.
Which nobody knows, but they actually qualify. They actually do say for which is
and that model of the Big Bang is being challenged more and more now as well. Yeah.
Is it? Oh,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, again, don't ask me. I mean, I just pick up bits and pieces from Radio 4, so please, which I then pass on to. Yeah. I'm going to make a fool of myself pretty quickly if I start saying anything more about that. But yeah, it's very much challenged. I don't know if it's very much challenged, but it's challenged. Because kind of in a way it doesn't make sense. And it's it's sort of meaningless. Of course, it's meaningless. That in a way, and it is in a way, quantum science through quantum physics has come to the same conclusion as mystics have come to. Just in the story of time, it just took them a few thousand years longer. It's kind of cute. It's meaningless, but it's kind of cute. But of course, there is one aspect of reality which mystics, have seen. And it's the most fundamental one, which so far even the Giant Hadron Collider at CERN has not come up with, which is again that the fundamental reality is love. The fundamental reality is love. Mystics see that, but the CERN computer has not yet discovered the love particle. Maybe it will, who knows? Maybe it will. That was a metaphor, by the way, before I'm denounced on social media. I'm not suggesting there actually is a love particle. There may be,
The
but
love
I'm not suggesting
unparticle.
it. What?
The love unparticle.
The love unparticle, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they talked about the God particle, but it was a metaphor, and they found that now. I mean, that wasn't the Higgs boson the God particle? Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
The
know.
guy who got a Nobel Prize for it hated the term God particle. He tried to tell them to stop calling it the God particle, but he couldn't do anything about it.
Yes. Yeah, I can understand why. Yeah.
He was someone sending a book, actually.
I think when the speaker at the front of the non-duality meeting starts coming up with half-baked ideas about quantum physics, it's probably time to ask a new question, a different question.
I mean, the meaninglessness that sort of brings like a pure, apparent, just innocence, like, it's just a pure innocence.
Yes, it is in a way, yeah. Just, and in a way, just an acceptance of things as they are, rather than needing to turn them into something else which is meaningful, which is very much what the mind, in inverted commas, the human mind tends to do. Always, maybe it's just part of the fact that evolutionarily, you know, we look for meaning.
Well, it's like the mind's like always wargaming, you know. The mind's always
Wargaming.
Yeah, it's like trying to find the meaning
Yeah.
and it's so serious. But
You mean that metaphorically, it's always wargaming?
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is in a way, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, you can see that that's an evolutionary strategy. That's probably why it's so powerful. It almost certainly helps, you know, in that story, in the story of how the mind exists, how it's developed, how it's evolved, how it's come to be. That's a very, very useful strategy. Presumably a mind that doesn't wargame at all doesn't survive very long in the natural world. Yeah.
So what doesn't survive? Is it, would you say the mind doesn't survive? It's not me.
No, I really
who
meant the
doesn't-
organism, you know, sorry, I went off into, you know, that like, you know, the organism that does not wargame wouldn't survive very long evolutionarily, so,
In those days.
huh?
In those days.
In those days, yeah, well, probably even now, yeah.
So, but
I mean, I don't know, I'm just sort of thinking it'd probably be fairly difficult. This is a bit old-fashioned. Why did this pop into my head? It'd probably be quite difficult to survive an average cocktail party without wargaming, let alone life on the savannah, you know, 100,000 years ago.
Yeah, you need to like get the 2-for-1s and then within the time period.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
so what's doing the wargaming? It's not me doing the wargaming. It's just wargaming happening.
Yes, life, if you like. It's life happening. Yes, yes. It appears to be somebody wargaming, but there's nobody behind that. In other words, there's whatever's going on, and then we add to that the idea that there is a person behind that. That's the divine error, you could say.
So if one person is good at wargaming, another person isn't, it's not just the fault, it's not that one person is better than the other, it's just that wargaming is happening in a better way
Yeah.
and in one area and in a worse way in another
Yeah.
area.
It's no different. I mean, let's really simplify it. It's no different to arms wrestling, to arm wrestling. There may be arm wrestling going on, but there is no person arm wrestling, or rather, there are no two people
It just
arm
becomes
wrestling.
play. Like there's no game when it's just pure innocence. It stops becoming war. It just becomes game and play, and then there's no real point in the actual win. It's just what's happening, just pure play.
Well, in a way, I'm not sure if this connects to what you're saying, but in a way we could say that, you know, in general, when this is seen through when the person collapses, then it is more likely to be seen as play rather than to be taken seriously. That's very often what happens. I mean, the kind of relief and release that's often experienced when this is seen comes, I would say, you know, partly from that, partly from the recognition that that which I believed maybe was deadly serious before isn't serious, it's trivial and it doesn't matter. And once it's seen as trivial, maybe it can be enjoyed then for what it is. Yeah. One of the things that's often reported when this is seen is laughter, you know, which is in a way the opposite of seriousness. Laughter, because it's seen that, you know, there has been an incredible joke going on, a kind of a practical joke almost. I mean, this is terribly misleading because it's personifying oneness. It's ridiculously misleading, as if oneness is playing a practical joke on us. No, obviously not on us, because we don't exist. You could say on itself, by pretending to be a person. And then when that pretense collapses, there's often a lot of laughter. Like, what a joke it is that I took all this seriously.
It's a laughter at joy, though, isn't it? It's just
Yes.
a joy.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, yeah.
So you like you talk about collapse. Well, there's no me. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
to
not
collapse.
there's nothing. It's not there's nothing you can do. It's that there is no one. There's no you.
Yeah, there is no one.
So who is there who could
Yeah,
do anything?
yeah. So it may happen, it may not happen.
Yes. I will quote someone who said at death there is only liberation. It's just more chic to see liberation while you're alive. But that's somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, I can see that.
I didn't say that, I'm just quoting it. Nevertheless, I do keep quoting that with Keith Dowman, isn't it, that Buddhist? And I've already quoted him once today already, so I'll repeat it. The key to Buddhahood is relaxation, here and now. I think one of the reasons I keep quoting it, and I like it so much, is it doesn't really matter whether he's right or wrong. The fact is, if we follow that, even if he's wrong, we end up relaxed. So that's a win.
But you can't follow it, it's your genes. Sometimes something
That's right,
relaxes
I know.
up. Yeah.
Of course, that's right. But even in these talks, it's necessary to use normal language. Yeah, of course. So really what I should have said is, if that apparently happens, even if he's wrong, so what? There will still be relaxation.
Because you talked about desperation, like the title of the book, I Hope You Die Soon, is Tony responding to your desperation.
Yes.
So it wasn't relaxing then, was it? It was just
No.
despair, wasn't it?
No. So in a way, that Keith Dowman thing, or what I've said about it, as with many other things I say, maybe almost everything I say from this chair is ridiculous, because of course there's no one, relaxation happens or it doesn't, and there's no one who can bring it about. Yeah. So there was a desperation in here, there was a desperate Richard, which Tony recognised. Yeah. And desperate Richard could obviously do nothing about his desperation. Because if I could have done something about my desperation, I wouldn't have been desperate anymore. Yeah. 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 Which is why advice is useless in this case. Beware of those who give you advice about this. instruction, beware of instruction with this.
So we can have a memory of being here, even though we're not.
Yes, isn't that weird?
Unless you lose your memory of the way home, unless you lose your memory of the way home, in which case you wouldn't know you've been here.
Yeah, we have memories of all sorts of things. That's part of the play. Yeah, I mean that's partly how the drama's created. There'd be a lot less drama without memory. Yeah. But we can't function in this apparent time. I mean, you know, we swim. Who was it said? It might have been me, but I don't think it was. I think I was quoting somebody else as a fish swims through water, so a person swims through time. You know, so without time, without the illusion of time, if you like, we couldn't have the characteristics of a person, which is partly and, you know, very, very strongly composed of memory. So again, you know, an analogy that's often used, I've used it over and over again, I certainly didn't think of it, many other people thought of it before me, is a cinema. It's characters on a cinema screen who apparently are real. They have to apparently be real, they have to appear to be real in order for us to have a satisfying experience. You know, it's a very avant-garde movie, so forget that, you know, for a normal movie, there has to be this appearance of reality. So there's a real person on the screen with loves and hates and longings and fears and yearnings moving through time from this drama through this drama to some sort of resolution where they are either dead or married, one or the other, or whatever it might be. And yet we see perfectly well, we have no trouble whatsoever discerning that, you know, that's all a complete illusion. There's no person there, there's no character, there's no one suffering.
You are taken in, actually,
yes,
while you're watching.
You have to be for it to be
I
satisfying.
mean, you are moved, aren't you?
Yeah.
You cry or you jump, you know.
Yeah,
And it's only 24 frames a second.
yeah.
Moving.
Maybe that's what this is.
Yeah, quite.
Yeah, yes. And that has to be the case for it to be satisfying. We have to be taken in by it. Yeah. And yet, go up close to the screen, you can see quite clearly, what is it? It's a play of light. This is a play of light. The cinema film is a play of light, in a much more obvious sense. Yeah.
It's a play of emotion, isn't it, Phil?
But it's a play of your. The play of light will play on your emotions. How do you like that for some wordplay? Oh, 3 times there. Yeah. Yes, the play of light will play on your emotions. But it is the emotions of the characters on the screen that trigger your emotions, except that the emotions of the character on the screen don't actually exist. It's an appearance. I used to do this as a test question years ago in these talks, didn't I? On a scale of 1 to 10, when in Casablanca, when Rick is standing and waiting to catch the last train out of Paris to get away from the Nazi invasion, and I can't remember the woman's character's name, but when she doesn't turn up and he's heartbroken and he has to get on the train anyway to escape, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much does he suffer? And the answer is, of course, it's a ridiculous question, because there is no Rick. It's just a character which has no inner life. We invest that character with inner life, but it has no inner life. It's a zombie. Rick in, what an awful thought, Rick in Casablanca is a zombie, and so is every other character that we've ever seen in a play or a film or read about in a novel. They're all zombies. Your favourite novel, they're zombies.
Another illusion shattered.
Another illusion shattered. Heathcliff and Catherine in Wuthering Heights are zombies. They have no internal life. Absolutely. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Well, it's only a metaphor, but it's quite a good metaphor, I think. You know, both the play of light on the cinema screen and the apparent black letters on the page of the book in a novel. They create the illusion of there being a person. This is the illusion of being a person. This is.
I was looking at these books, you know, I've never been up here before in the library, and it occurred to me that each book is written by a character with a point of view, addressed to another character. And there are very few books here, probably, that say the important point is that there are no characters. You know, what they're trying to do is educate you about something, psychotherapy, or
In this case.
in this case.
Mm.
But anyway, generally, it seems to me that the character sits here, Philip sits here, saying, Richard, I want you to remove the character Philip.
Mm.
But there's not a lot you can do about it,
No,
because
there's nothing I can do.
the character Philip doesn't actually exist.
Mm. Yeah.
But we want to have that character removed.
Yes.
But if there's a false assumption that the character Philip exists, it's a bit of a hard task, isn't it?
Yeah, we could reframe that as, you know, Philip wants the character Philip removed. We could reframe that as Philip wants to see that Philip does not exist.
Yeah, while still retaining Philip, actually.
Yeah. Which is a hard ask. Yeah.
We talked about that before, but it's Philip wants to be enlightened.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't want to disappear,
Yeah.
but I want all the bells and whistles that go with enlightenment.
Really?
Yeah,
Do you really?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Maybe. I think a lot of people, maybe without, probably almost certainly without recognising it consciously, want to lose themselves, want to disappear. And it has to be not consciously, because it can't be known what that is until it's seen. And then when it's seen, you're not going to be there seeing it anyway. Yeah.
But there's the fear, there's a certain fear of that, about that,
Oh,
that
yeah.
Philip won't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Because what else is there? I mean, you know, all the gurus and whatnot have been putting forward the idea of enlightenment and how wonderful it is. But what if it's not?
Well, no, it's,
And then
all the
Philip's,
gurus have not been doing that. Some of the gurus have.
well, yeah, okay, but whatever about enlightenment, that it's a great
Forget
thing.
it.
Yeah.
I mean,
But what happens if it doesn't work out like that? And
But it
Philip's gone.
well, it won't work out like that. I guarantee it. You know, and a couple of quotes, you know, I generally throw in at this point. I've used them often before. You know, in fact, I don't know how well known, relatively well known little Zen thing. You know, the Zen monk asked the novice, "Why do you want enlightenment? How do you know you'd like it?"
Can you repeat that, please?
Why do you want enlightenment? How do you know you'd like it? And then another Zen little anecdote, you know, the Zen monk who said, now I'm enlightened, I'm just as miserable as ever. No, think about it. Think about it. There's no implications in this. We assume that, you know, there are no implications in it. Life goes on. Still have to pay the electricity bill.
Do we
The
know?
enlightened ones, think of that. The enlightened ones, there is no such thing, but let's pretend there is such a thing. The enlightened ones still have to pay their electricity bill.
So
And clip their toenails.
do we want
Unless
to...
they're gurus, in which case they will have devotees to clip their toenails, of course, and then to collect their toenails and sell them to the other devotees as relics. And if you think I'm joking, believe me, I've been in an ashram where this sort of thing happens. Believe me.
Oh.
Yes, sorry.
No,
I went off
I'm
there
just
on one.
thinking, do we want to get rid of Philip because we think it's going to be better in some way?
I think we have to think that. It's just part of being a person, being a character. It's normal. Of course we're going to think that. Yeah.
But it's not very... this is a bit judgmental, but it's not... It lacks understanding, that point of view.
But it has to
doesn't
lack understanding. There can't be an understanding. There can't be an understanding of this when it is seen, so there certainly isn't going to be an understanding of it when it isn't seen. It's got nothing to do with understanding. Can't be understood. So the mind, I mean, what you're talking about actually is a very good illustration of a really kind of key point. You know, the mind has to misunderstand this. Everything the mind... I don't know about everything the mind, but you know, predominantly the mind will have wrong ideas about this. You know, if this was the Chinese Communist Party, we would have to take the mind away and re-educate it, because the mind has wrong. In Chinese Communist terms, the mind has wrong thinking about it. The mind is committing thought crime about enlightenment. It has the wrong ideas about it. It has to have the wrong ideas about it. Because the ideas it has about it can only come from the experience of the mind. So when, I sometimes call this the mystical apprehension, because I'm a bit poetic at times, when the mystical apprehension arises, it's seen that it has nothing to do with the mind. Quoting my favourite mystic martyr, as I've quoted her many times before, until I see that I am nothing, I cannot see that I am everything. Till I see that I am nothing, I cannot see that I am love. The mind can't see that it's nothing. The mind has to disappear, but the mind can't do that. It can't disappear itself.
But sorry,
Yeah.
there is what Atmananda, just reading a bit about Atmananda, is very interesting. It talks about higher reasoning, so that if you get this, you get to the point of this higher reasoning where you totally accept what, in inverted commas, you are saying, or what about non-duality. So you accept that there is no character, you accept that there's nothing you can do because there is no you. Are you left with a kind of, okay, I get that.
Stop there and let me ask you a question before you go on. What does that mean, you accept it? Firstly, who accepts it? Because there is no you. And secondly, what would it mean anyway to accept? How can you accept it? You don't know you and me. You know, person said, you know, we can't accept it because we don't know what it is. You can't accept something that is unknown.
But you can accept the rationale, the reason behind it.
Oh yeah.
The intellectual
all of that.
approach.
Yeah, so what? You can accept this or reject this intellectually, and believe me, probably more people reject it than accept it. There are more people out there that think this is bollocks, that think that it's you know, something worth listening to on a Saturday afternoon. So what? The mind accepts it, the mind rejects it, well so what? It's got nothing. The mind that rejects it, this is kind of quite frustrating, the mind that rejects it might be, this is just a picture, obviously it isn't really, you know, but the mind that doesn't exist, that rejects it inside the person who also doesn't exist, that might be the mind and the person where this is then seen. And the mind that accepts this inside the person that accepts this is getting a bit complex, but never mind, it may not be seen. Acceptance by the mind or rejection by the mind is meaningless here.
But isn't there something beyond the mind
Yes.
that can accept this?
yes and no. There's something beyond the mind, and no, it can't accept or reject it, because that which is beyond the mind is beyond will. God, that sounded a bit niche-y, that, didn't it? That which is beyond the mind, that should be said in a very solemn way. That which is beyond the mind is beyond will. If it's beyond the mind, it's beyond will. So it will accept this or it will reject it, but that's got nothing to do with will or the mind. It's just a happening. And then it's still a bit so what, because what we're talking about here has nothing to do with acceptance or rejection.
I'm just wondering, when you get to this point where you have listened to these ideas for so long, and I come back, it is a sort of acceptance. You understand it.
Oh yeah.
You accept it. I accept there is
mental
no person.
resistance to it disappears.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mental resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what?
Nothing. So what? Mental resistance disappears, and then whatever happens next. A cup of tea.
Yeah.
A walk in the park. Placing a bet on a horse. Just whatever happens next. I would say, all we can say about, when the mind stops resisting this, it's more comfortable. Maybe less exciting, but more comfortable. So this, when this first went to Tony, it was always hand up, but, what about, for a long time. And then that energy kind of ran out, and then there was just a sitting there. In a way, so what? Other than that was more comfortable, less frustrating.
Yeah, I think the frustration is a bit of a problem.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think this is why maybe so many minds that come across this, such a high proportion of minds that come across this, then go away again and go to something which is more amenable to the mind. I mean, most of the this isn't a message, but most of the messages, maybe all of the messages, the spiritual messages, etc., they have food for the mind.
And
Thank you, Master, I can go away this afternoon. I have something to do now.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have a mantra now. Thank you. I have a mudra, I have whatever, I have some self-inquiry exercises I can do. How blessed am I? Yeah. And so we're still on the path. We, who don't exist, are still on the path that doesn't exist, lost in ignorance. I've forgotten the word for ignorance. It would be more pompous if I'd been able to put the Sanskrit word in there. There we still are, lost in ignorance on the path. But so what? Doesn't. Seeing is just as likely to happen, or not. Because seeing is beyond all of that. Frustratingly. So we're overrunning. Is that okay to take this? I didn't want to interrupt that because it seemed,
Can I just ask
fruitful.
Can I just ask one-
Yeah. If people may want to lynch you if they want a cup of coffee,
Sorry,
but
just
go
very
ahead.
quick. Well, sometimes I speak to people and say, I no longer feel a need to ask too many questions. That's all gone. I'm very happy just to listen to them. And I think, gosh, you're a bit more advanced than me.
What?
I think, gosh, they must be a bit more advanced than
Yeah.
me. I'm here asking questions. They've gone beyond that.
That's the mind again, isn't
That's just
it?
the mind.
It's just wonderful the way the mind works. It's kind of, in a way, it's so obvious, isn't it? I mean, this is part of the way it works, this constant competition and self-evaluation against others. I mean, of course, in social terms, that has some usefulness. Again, it's part of our, evolved nature, but it can get out of balance and go crazy and cause suffering. All of that, yeah, of course. And I think probably I should declare a tea break, yeah? So up here, as I say, there's